Okay. Okay. Well, I was just going to test if this is really working today. So I guess I have to run through the rest of. Let me just go to hit the live button. Really working today. See how it sounds and. Okay. I think we're good. It sounds good and everything seems to be good. And today we're going to have Joey Aragon on, and I just got to give him the link when he comes around, and we're going to talk about trusting the thing that we do as men. We're going to talk about when it just feels bad, when it just doesn't feel right, and you got to ask yourself, "Hey, Hank, how you doing today?" You got to ask yourself sometimes when we make these mistakes. We get married, we dating the wrong girl, or there's a little voice in the back of your head, and that's pretty much your frontal lobe telling you to question these things, to ask these. But but as but as men, sometimes our lives are dictated by honor. Our lives are dictated by moral codes that we have to, and male roles, male gender roles, conformity roles, and what's expected from us to fit into society. And them roles overtake good, solid logic. And sometimes that good, solid logic can keep you out of problems. A lot of problems. I'm just going to jabber on here for a few minutes, waiting for people to come in. Like I said, I was expecting Joey Aragon in, and here's I'm going to paste up the StreamYard link for when Joey gets in. If anybody else wants to talk about this subject, trusting that little voice in your head sometimes that says that this something smells in this, something stinks, something doesn't quite feel right. For the guys that have been married and failed, you're gonna go back on that question. I knew that didn't feel right. I knew that didn't feel right. But there's those things that life tells us to trust, and then trust doesn't work out. Okay, Joey, there's the link in the right above you in the thing when you get in. The links, the StreamYard link is in the chat, I think. And uh, we okay, I just got another text. Oh, picture. Someone sending me a funny picture. Oh God. Okay. Okay. But that's funny, Rex. Yeah, but yeah, Joey. Okay, Joey. Juliet Lewis is now in the room, and I got to add her to the stream, or else I'm dead. But we'll see how it goes. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. How's it going?
Good, good. Just started off, didn't know what to say about the topic. The
Mhm.
trusting that little voice in your head. There's some scientific evidence about why we should trust that little voice in our head, why we should think about things, why we should be skeptical about a lot of things. And that's the frontal lobe doing what the frontal lobe of your brain does, and it's it's supposed to make you question things, whether this is right, stop you from doing the wrong things, and things like that. But a lot of times we don't listen to that, do we? Do I got you?
Oh, okay, yeah, I lost you for a second. You talking about
Okay.
trust the frontal lobe? Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about that little thing in your head, your voice, when it tells you this doesn't feel right, but all of society is telling you this is what to do?
Yeah, you better if you're gonna you have to in life the decisions you make, you bet like I've noticed in my life when I've trusted myself and I've trusted my instincts,
Yeah.
99.9999 out of 100 times it turns out right. It's when I
Yes.
listen to other people and trust them. that things don't go right, and a lot of it has to do. They have their best interest in mind. Yeah, not my best interest.
Right.
You know.
Anytime you involve yourself with someone, you're involving yourself with their wants, their desires, and basically their schemes. And sometimes even when I trust myself on something, I'm saying to myself, this doesn't quite. It seems odd because I'm not following the traditional way. And then I go through it and I go, well, that worked out fine.
Yeah. Well, and then you live with your own decisions. It's like, hey, if it doesn't go, things aren't always going to go your way, but
Yeah,
at least you were the one that made that decision. You
right.
know,
And yeah, the male mind's quite
you don't play
complex.
that blame game, and yeah,
We we
yeah, you don't
we
play that blame game or second guess yourself.
we do a lot of thinking about these things, about our life decisions and everything too. As men, I know I've often been accused of over examining things, overthinking things, but that's just natural as a man. You question things. What people want you to do is not question, trust. But I found trusting people is got me in more trouble in my life than I care to have been in.
Yep, yep, me too. Yep, me too. No question. And that's like, that's why I don't like to share my plans with people either. Because
Right.
they'll try to screw them up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so you have to be careful with that. But I mean, I got a lot of examples of like trusting my instincts. Like the classic one is getting, like I'm not getting on my knee for a woman. It's not. It's not. I trust in my instinct. Like that didn't feel like the right thing to do. Like I'm begging you know, for you to be in my life. Like that doesn't seem like a very masculine thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when you're thinking about cohabitating or something like that, ask yourself, does this feel right? Does this, all that arguing, all that she wants this to be half her house, and all of a sudden it becomes whatever she wants, that stuff, and does it feel right for me? And I often found that no, there's something unnatural about cohabitating with a woman. And them are lessons I had to learn later in life, and it was always unnatural. And I was always questioning that unnatural feeling. And even when I was getting married, when I was like 22, I was thinking, just does this all seems really kind of bizarre, out of nature.
Yeah. Well, it's like if let's say you are in nature, like let's say you had a tribe or whatever, and say you were Native American, whatever, I don't know, born 500 years ago. Like, are you going to follow a woman into battle? Are you going to follow a woman into
Right,
gathering food or hunting for food? It's like,
right.
women shouldn't be taking the lead on these things. I'm not trying to be a trap cook here when I say this, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a natural thing for a man to follow a woman's lead in life. I don't think it is.
Yeah, even from the early caveman days, boys were brought up to be the hunters, and there's very good reason for that. And you had the hunting parties that went out, and all men, and you trusted those men, and they taught you how to hunt and how to hide and how to cover your scent and smell downstream or smell upwind, and a lot of really good things. And it was life and death, was balancing on if you did it right. Now you can imagine these scenario of like, you got like a couple women and let's go kill the dinosaur.
Yeah,
You're going,
that's not happening.
it's just, let's go kill the dinosaur with these rocks. And then it's like,
Yeah,
oh man, something doesn't feel right about this. You guys got no sharp sticks. No bow and
yeah,
arrows. You didn't think about this plan through.
yeah. What have they ever built? I mean, what have they built? It's like nothing. They haven't built anything. All they do is tear stuff down. Like you said, they're cannibal. I mean, they're cannibals. Just eat everything in sight and just tear things down. We build it and they tear it down.
Yeah, they utilize what they can find, and that's the gathering instincts of the female. So gathering would include gathering resources, and then like resources. There's a set amount of resources, and they're quite easily used up, and that's basically what they do. And our our job as males would be to build those things back there, those cities, and make sure everybody. But then we got problems with the government tapping into everything, and racketeering that goes on, and everybody wants the male utility for themselves, and we talk about those things. And you got to think, did you follow your best instinct when you were doing that, when people were trying to use your utility?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like exactly. It's like they're pushing you to it's like there's so many ways we can go with this discussion, but
Yeah,
what happens is if you continually suppress your instincts
yeah,
and stop trusting yourself, you turn into a really weak male. You turn into a really weak person.
yeah.
Because you're just this codependent person that's doing everything to please her, and that's pretty much what marriage is, right?
Right. It's just doing everything to please her all the time, and that's what. Yeah. Life would be so easy on everybody else if we would just submit and be the good slaves. And of course, people want that. They want men to submit. They want men to just be the good slave and be the best slave you can, and that makes life so much easier on everybody else. But or the male utility is valuable in that sense. But but is that good for us? And people never think about what is good for the male. What not working himself to death, not having back pain when he's 55, not
Uh-huh.
not putting himself in risky situations. They want to put us in risky situations. They want us to be the warriors, the builders, they don't care about our bodies. We hear so much about my body, my choice when you're a woman, but the male utility is when you're talking about that, you're talking about the male body and his ability to do things that generally women and children can't do.
It's like they try to do everything to disempower men, like continually. And I think the core of it is, again, not trusting. Like they want you not to trust your instincts.
They
They
want you
want
not
you.
to trust your instincts, right? And your
Right.
instincts are telling you, no, I don't put myself in risky situations.
Right.
I do harm management for myself. I do, I do a lot of that in my life, especially with who I keep company with, and the strippers,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't put myself at harm, and that's harm reduction. MGTOW is all about harm reduction. I don't do those kind of jobs where I'm sitting over, 20,000 gallons of molten salt.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's
How my buddy's his son, his friend, he's like in the early 20s. He's getting married. I was like horrified, like, man, like poor guy, he didn't think it through, or somebody couldn't have taught him. And like,
yeah.
these young guys don't. That's why it's good to do these podcasts. These young guys don't know. They think
No, they
it's
think that
yeah. They think
everybody's
it's normal to be treated like garbage. They think it's normal
yeah,
to be, you know what I
everybody's
mean?
telling them that's natural to feel that way. That's natural to be hesitant. That's natural to wonder if this thing is not going to work and everything. It's not natural. Them are cues for you to really think about whether it's going to work or not, or whether
That's
it's
right.
good for yourself. Them are
That's right.
cues. Your brain is telling you those cues to stop, think about this, and they're telling you not to think about it, just to go do that because they want something. Everybody a thief wants you to believe that you're safe in your house.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I like the title of this talk,
Yeah.
Uh, you know, because the more you get comfortable with trusting yourself and your decisions, like you got life by the nuts, you really do. You got to buy you got to buy the balls, you're not going to get swayed by other people's opinions. That's another thing I'm learning to do, is not to ask for other people's opinions unless they've earned a track record of like yourself, or maybe some other guys like RP and JK and
Yeah, trust
who I've
is
known
earned.
a while. Yeah, like those guys are proven, you know,
Yeah, you trust what you.
character over a year,
Yeah,
over a decade, yeah. But in their MGTOW. But if
and
you're
you
not,
make.
if you're not a MGTOW, if you're just a, obviously I'm never gonna take any advice from a woman, but if you're not a MGTOW, like I'm probably not gonna take anything you say seriously.
Right. Yeah. And I get that kind of advice all the time. You get that kind of advice at the bars, from your simp friends, from, just, it's it's a bartender, just have another drink. It'll be okay. Well, sometimes just having another drink is probably a bad idea.
Yeah. 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 And you learn as you get older, obviously, you become more mature and you know what works and what doesn't work. And, like for me, I want to get my 7, 8 hours of sleep every night, no exceptions, because I know I can function better during the day. I'm in, 9 to 10 o'clock, I'm wrapping it up and I'm snoozing by like 11.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? And yeah, and nothing's going to get in the way of those boundaries. Like when I remember when I was like in college, like I was studying for some tests and these frat guys were like, they wanted me to pledge their frat. And they're like, oh, they had a stripper. I was just like, true story. I had a stripper at the park. And I'm like, oh, guys, I got to study, blah, blah, blah. And then they just kept egging me on, egging me. So I finally said, all right, I'll go. And I went, and it was the stupidest thing ever, right? They got these two stupid strippers dancing, and I didn't even want to be there. I'm going to school to study and get work done. And I'm not here to go see strippers, and it's like, that's one of the situations where I kind of caved in. But when you get older, you learn to say, even like, have that healthy boundary. No, I said, thanks for the offer, but I got work to do. You know what I mean? So,
I usually like, okay, I've seen one of those before.
right, exactly. And so as you get older, you like you should be developing this trust in yourself, because you know what you need to do to be successful, whether it's getting that 7, 8 hours of sleep a night,
Right.
whatever it is. Like today, I'll give you another example. Like today, happened today. My buddy's like, "Oh, you're not gonna be bike riding tomorrow. It's gonna be 100 degrees." I said, "Yeah, that's for everybody else, though, not for me." I got water in my backpack, and I'm gonna go biking. You're not gonna you don't know me. You don't that for you. Yeah, you can't handle the heat. That's your own thing. But for me, I can handle the heat, and I can go on the bike.
And sometimes I want to test myself. I want to go out on a hot day. That cool breeze is coming. You're on a bike and you're gonna have a breeze, so it's like having a fan on you.
Yeah.
And I want to test myself. I want to see how healthy I am. I want to gauge how healthy I am. I put my little, thing on my finger, and then I get all the information on my phone and everything. It's like where my heartbeat is, where, how my blood oxygenated and all that stuff. And I want to know these things, and I want to get out there and push myself. So, why I want to push myself? Because I'm a man. Sometimes I just want to push myself.
Yeah. And that applies to anything. Like, find a style that works for you and be unapologetic. Remember that the Conor McGregor thing? He's talking. He goes, "I apologize to absolutely nobody."
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of how you have to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't apologize for that. I'm going to do that. And, just the other day I went over and we did that garden. I flipped all that dirt over. It was fresh, unbreaking grass there. And I flipped all that dirt over, chopped it up.
Yeah.
Everybody was, anybody that would look at me and go, Joe, maybe that's not a good idea. You're a 60-year-old man. And I was like, okay, but I want to see if I could still do it. And I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good feeling.
Yeah. You don't have to be this person who's, trying to live like it's your life. Like, it's your life to live.
Sure.
Like, when I was telling you, I hurt my back. I was in the hospital for 3 days, whatever. I didn't even care if I died that day. I didn't even care less. I was like, yeah, I live my life. I'm comfortable who I am, and I've done pretty much what I wanted to do. I reached my goals, and I didn't really give a shit. I didn't even care. I didn't, honestly. I just believe it. I really didn't care. And that's kind of where you want to be at. Is like you don't really, you're not afraid of that next step that what death is, whatever it is. You're just comfortable with who you are in your own skin.
Yeah, that's part of being me, and some of my messages being elderly like I am, and is I can look back at the last decisions when I turned MGTOW in about 2000, about 22 years ago, 2000, 2001, 2003, somewhere around there. And my life after that, how it transformed. And I've lived this life if I died right now, I could, and I was thinking about this the other day, if I died right now, could I look back and say that I didn't find out who I was, and I didn't find out a lot about myself, and were these last 20 years really good? And I think comparatively to most people I know, I've lived this sensational life after I turned MGTOW that is hard to imagine for a lot of people.
Yeah, because they're trying to rope you into their worldview. Oh, why don't you have a wife? And you know, where are your kids? Oh, or you know,
Yeah,
whatever. You're not taking care of someone a bitch. You know, you're not taking. You know, you're not. You know what I mean? You're not living life the way they want. And another thing, like even with money, they're always trying to make you think money is the most important thing in life, and that's the stupidest thing ever.
yeah,
Because there's, you know, but that's how people think. They want you to like they're like disappointed if you don't think the way they do, and they're simps anyway, right? Like I don't know how many people are percentage or simps. You know, RP and I figured it out one day. We took a calculator out. Like, we figured out how many men are simps, how many are MGTOW. So
yeah.
we just can't. We just did a stupid calculation, but I think it was pretty accurate. But it's like they want you to think the way they do, and when you don't, you know. But again, when you trust your instincts, though, you're not going to take those guys seriously because their lives are in disarray for the most part. I mean, like you said, well, how many married people do you know that are really truly happy? You know what I mean? Or that are
Right.
really
Just
truly
want
like at peace with themselves? You know?
Right. They just want you to tell them that what they're doing is okay. They want that confirmation. Now, confirmation that what they're doing is okay would mean that you're having doubts about what you're doing. You, as a male, you should never have doubts about what you're doing is okay. When
Mm-hmm.
simps come around and they argue with us and they try to get us to confirm that what they're doing is okay, that is an indication. It's one of those, you know, it's one of those tells in the poker game here, that you know you're not. And what you really want is just fake affirmation that it's okay, so you can continue feeling good about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be more logical to me about all these guys when they come around. Uh, about they want to argue the MGTOW points. There's not a point that I make that I really haven't thought about a lot scientifically,
Yeah,
philosophically.
that's a really good point you brought up. That's the self introspection that we do that
Yeah,
they don't do. And I'm not trying to say, you know, I'm not trying to compare myself with them, but they don't do that introspection. They're out busy running around taking care of their woman. You know,
right.
well,
Yeah,
I'm out,
that's
I'm
what I'm
right now. I
talking
don't know if
about.
you heard the bird. I don't know if you heard the birds. I'm in the park right now. Like right now, I'm going for my second trip to the park. I'm just walking off some
Nice.
food I ate. Yeah, and it's like I'm thinking about life. Like when I
Right.
walk in the park, I'm taking in the nature. I'm exercising, but most of my benefit is just thinking about the direction of my life. I'm thinking 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead. Where do I want to be? You know. So anyway, go ahead. What was your point you were talking about?
Yeah, I was just contemplating the things that it says. Look, reading Rick here. He says there's nothing wrong. There would be nothing to change, and people don't have to have those questions. Uh, but
Yeah.
hey, it's good to do. Once I started doing the MGTOW, what I believe is the right way, and I questioned everything at first, like everybody, but I put Kuhn in that, and I put scientifically. What would Kuhn say scientifically? How to question this thing, and the best way is you have to try to disprove everything in MGTOW, and as soon as you can't disprove it, and you don't bias it, and like they would, but they would bias it. They would do that conservative bias and just say, no, 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 it's wrong. But if you try to disprove what we say, and you'll come up to the answer that no, everybody asks is, you guys are right. They say you guys are right, but you're wrong for some strange mystical reason
Uh-huh.
that can't be, articulated. We're wrong. And that's when it drives me crazy with the Simps. That's when it drives me. It's like absolutely makes me want to just slap them when they're okay. You know that I'm right, but for some mystical reason, I'm wrong because you want what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. They want to think. They want to, like you said, the validation, and that their lives were meaningful.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
speak.
They want to believe that their lives are meaningful and they're doing the right thing. And sometimes doing the
Right.
right thing for society is not it doesn't mean it's going to be meaningful or rewarding for you. You just have to suffer through the right thing. It's like being in the army. I'm doing the right thing, but this is horrible for me.
Well, the first thing that came up to me was the fatherhood thing. Like people think
Right.
they're fathers. You're not the father. Like you're not the father. That's a tough thing to
That's
accept, but it's true.
it's a social
No.
social program. It's a social myth.
Right.
Fatherhood is a
Right.
social, and I get so many arguments about this. It's like I heard it I was on Twittering the other day, and And then it says, oh, the men just make women pregnant. You don't make a woman pregnant. You have no seed. That's impossible
Yeah.
biologically. And then that's what I said. I said, that's impossible biologically. All we do is share 4% of our DNA. We have transposons, and they're just like flower petals or flower pollen. And it's a DNA resequencer. That is the extent of what you do. You don't bring a seed. She already has an egg.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole idea, the Christian idea, and the government, even the government's idea of the part men play in this, and all they want you to do is take care of their problem, because that other
Yeah.
person that's supposed to be an adult and paying taxes and taking care of herself can't. So they want you to do it for them.
Yeah.
And that's so silly. It's just so silly that they don't think, and most men will never question that because of the honor code. I was thinking about this today with there's this actual thing called quit saying Karen.
What is it?
Yeah, we call the real evil girls Karens, but we call them
Yeah,
Claire.
I guess that's the thing. Yeah.
Claire, quit calling her Claire. You're not allowed to call her Claire no more. But and
Yeah.
then they went into this some reasons why we should just all be nice and everything. But men have been dealing with shame tactics for years. That's what it is. It's a shame tactic.
Yeah.
Carrying,
Sure.
because she's acting bizarre. You're trying to shame her back into, and men have been dealing with these really false and bizarre shame tactics, like you're not a good father, you're not this, you're not that, you're not good enough, you're not giving her enough, you're not doing all them shame tactics. And if you don't put up or shut up, they're going to shame you into this. But the simplest little thing, like men calling awful woman a Karen, is now, oh, that's but men have been putting up with the same shaming tactics for years.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's like, it's the programming, like you said. It's like you're born into this crazy world, and
but when you think about that, okay, now if this Karen thing keeps going, it'll become a social norm. And once it becomes a social norm, social norms tend to turn to laws. And that's what happened to men. Once they shamed us into these manly roles, these masculine roles, then they made those masculine roles laws. That's what they might be afraid of. That women are going to be held accountable for their actions.
boy, their lives are certainly so different, right? 180 different. They have no accountability. They just do whatever they want.
Right.
Say whatever they want.
Say whatever they want. Do the act. They get entitled. And I mean, I've seen so many, even this week, as a MGTOW, I've seen so many things. I've seen a baby mama asking, dating online. And the first thing she was asking, you got to bring me over groceries for my kids. It's like, it's like, and then the guy said no. And it was like, oh, well, you're out of the picture if you don't start doing right away. That's one of the prerequisites now for dating a baby mom, is you got to start giving money right away for your new kids.
Man,
it's instant made family.
These guys that are dating women with children, like, just stop it. Just change your phone number, move to another state if you have to. I don't know. Just get out of that situation as quick as possible.
Right. Why would you date a baby mama when you've seen the examples of two baby daddies in front of you? You're like, okay, there's baby daddy number 1, baby daddy number 2, and you want to be baby daddy number 3 because you're such a he-man, you can work that out? No.
Yeah.
There ain't a man in the world big enough to work that out. There ain't enough duct tape in the world to fix that one.
I talked to a guy this week. He's got 2 kids. I mean, he works his ass off, this guy, and he's just he like coaches all these sports for his kids, and he tells me he's like, man, we got a busy life and all this stuff. You can just tell he's just exhausted, and only so much I could give him, in terms of MGTOW viewpoint, but these people they're exhausted. These married men are exhausted.
Yeah, the utility your utility comes at a cost to your body. And it's your body, your choice. Same as it's constitutional. Roe
Yeah.
versus Wade. It's your body, your choice. But unless it's a man and he doesn't want to give his utility, then you're shameful. You're not a man.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why we have men's rights, why we talk like MGTOWs, why we do these things, because the hypocrisy of what they're telling us is crazy. It's just absurdity, the absurdity of the world. I was sitting here last night thinking about the absurdity of the world and how, man, sometimes I go through a day watching all this garbage, and I read the Google News first thing in the morning every morning, so I'm up to date, and the absurdity of some of this garbage is like, man,
bizarro world. Yeah, bizarro world.
Yeah, it's bizarro world. If it's like, man, I wish I had one of those rings to put on my thumb and like, hey, come pick me up. I'm Hitchhiker's Guide.
I know. That's why, like, it's. I mean, and so, like, my uncle passed away this week. He was 79. Whatever. He had cancer and whatever. I was like, in some ways, I was kind of jealous of him. He doesn't have to deal with all this shit anymore.
Yeah, man, yeah. When you start thinking like that, it becomes we're peaceful with our lives now. I could today, and I could be happy that I did okay, and because man, they scheduled me for ruin.
Yeah.
And I came out somehow a little bit okay, holding up that moon.
Right.
Yeah, it's like.
Well, we won. I always say that, like MGTOW, we won. I mean, I just think, right, it's just we have to remember who we are and then not listen to these idiots because they are idiots. They are idiots. They're not at peace. They're the people that are trying to get into our heads. They're the ones that are shaking their fists. They're shaking their fists in the air when they're dying. They're not at peace.
Yeah,
they can fake it all they want, but I know they're not at peace.
Yeah, anytime someone says, "Why don't you do what I want you to do?" It's for them, not you.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're not at peace. They're wanting and desiring. They're desire is a strong thing. I got a new book on the biology of desire, and I wanted to go into that one day. But
what is it? What can you give us a quick snapshot of what it is?
Well, we take an overview like we do in MGTOW of what desire is like addiction is desire, peer driven and desire. So we look at the most common thing of addiction and why it's not a disease. It's just pure desire or want in overdrive. And the biology of desire has certain segments of your brain that turn it on, turn it off. You can tail back desire and see if it's reasonable, and that's what your frontal lobes are for. It's to see if your thoughts are reasonable, and us men can turn off those and slow down that thing. We have a little segment on the right side, the right side of your brain, and that slows down the information so we can examine it, so we can look at it. And I told about how people enter like a hall. Like a man enters the hall a very different way a woman enters a hall. You can have two people walking side to side as a couple, and a woman will go straight for a table without thinking about it. A man also enters a hall with tables in it and a lot of people in there, and you can see every man. You can sit there and watch at the door. Every man stops and looks around and thinks about, do I know that person? I've had bad examples with that person. Is that a good place, or is that? And then he'll move forward. That's the male brain doing the right analysis of any situation.
Wow. So the females are less thoughtful in their approach.
They're more compulsive. They might run with people that hate them. Or they've had bad situations with them, or it's just not a bad idea to sit next to these people, or they'll go for a power trip and sit someone over their status and then feel uncomfortable all night. Stuff like that happens all the time. Yeah,
they need us too. I'm just observing women like a lot lately. Like, they really need a man because they're like a bunch of cuckoo birds. Most of them, they have no clue how to invest their money. They have no clue how to pay their bills, or they have no clue how to live their life. A lot of them, they just have they're so helpless. A lot of them, even these career women that make a lot of money and stuff, they're just totally lost in life. They have no sense of direction or planning or anything. You know, I don't know if you picked up on that type. I'm sure you have, but they just don't seem to have any type of I don't know, like confidence. You know, like true confidence in themselves. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, confidence is good. I say the male ego is good because when we do make a decision, we push into it. And it would seem to come off a little bit narcissistic, but we've thought about those things already. Everything we're going to do, a male has already thought about in detail.
Yeah.
And it's what makes us more successful. And they'll blame success like someone handed it to us. What makes a male more successful in these ventures that we do is because we pre-think about everything.
Yeah.
Like males do. We're not compulsive. We don't do things on whims. We some males probably do. What would SFM call that? Bitch brain?
Yeah. Bitch brain. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't do those things. We think about you know, but we're trained. You know, we should trust that thing too. It takes me 17 seconds to analyze like a room and whether I should be there, whether this is going to not be good for me. That's from a restaurant to a bar. Most of the time, I walk into a bar, I was like, this doesn't feel right. And if back to that, this feeling that I'm having says there's going to be fights in here. This is a little bit too wild and crazy for me. I don't want to get this drunk. You know.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, you know.
Well, that's why I don't go to bars anymore. I mean, gee, I don't remember last time. I mean, sometimes I like to watch the game.
Yeah.
But I don't like to be at a bar where people are drinking and I just don't want to be around those kind of people. They make me feel uncomfortable.
Hey, they make those chicken wings at that favorite bar that in them tall beers, like just for baseball games. And I want to be alone and I want to watch that game.
Yeah. Maybe that's an exception for me too. Yeah, but in general, I don't want to be like Burger's example, a nightclub. I never want to go to a nightclub. People boot with all these simps, PUAs like Chris Cantu dancing with his hair gel, and you know, I don't want to be around those types of people. And those are the people that hang out there. You know.
Yeah, when I come up out of the park, I usually stop at this it's a bar.
Or even at like a Howard Dare local, you know, Republican National Convention fundraiser.
Slapping around. Yeah, thanks for slapping around.
Thanks for swapping bar. Yeah.
Swapping by.
Like I can instinctively know that I'm not going to have a good time being around those kind of people. Just not.
Right, yeah. When I come up that last hill out of the park, you got to come up out of a valley here because there's a big river. So there's this service road that's absolutely just. It should be banned, and they did ban it. They fence it off, but I figured out a way to get around it. And and, so I go up this hill, and it's the last walk I got to take, and it's like I'm pushing. By the time I get up, I'm sucking air, and I'm just ready. There's a bar right at the corner there where I can get a big glass of pop and some a burger or a BLT or whatever I want, and I go in there. But that's the same when I'm making those decisions. I could go this way, go that way.
Yeah, and you're trusting your instincts. You're trusting your instincts based on your experiences. Yeah, just because someone says, "Oh, this is good," or
experience before. Where's this? Right. You know, I want to get this somewhere fast. I want to get. You know, I need a Pepsi. I need something to drink earlier. I need some water. And I need to slow down, and I want to make the best possible decision. You should live your life that way. To make the best possible decision I can for my future comfort.
Right. Well, that's like for me. It's like I like to when I retire. I think I'm going to probably retire on the East Coast, not the West Coast, because the West Coast, the cost of living is so much higher.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I might stay here for a while. I'll probably stay here another 10, 15 years on the West Coast, but. When I retire, I have some cities already picked out where the cost of living is a lot lower. So I can just sell all my assets here and then go there and live a lot cheaper and have like I figured out today, if I had a house paid off, right, in East Coast, that like a $200,000 house, right, I can have that house paid off and pay about maybe $6,000 in taxes and insurance or whatever, right? Now, if I move to California, so that's about $6,000, right? So let's say I have a house paid off, right, $200,000, right? Now I owe $6,000 or $7,000 a year in taxes. Now compare that to living in California, right? And I'm paying $2,500 a month in rent. Not even own it, I rent it.
Right.
That's $30,000. That's $30,000. So that's you're talking about $20,000 difference just to live in the warm weather. But the society would say, oh, when you're older, you should live in a warm weather climate and blah 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 blah. but I'm comfortable. I can deal with the
I
cold.
can deal with it. It's nice.
I know myself. Yeah, I know myself. I'm not following the program that, I have to be this upwardly mobile, whatever, retired guy that's living in, Scottsdale, Arizona or wherever,
Yeah.
when I can live in a place
He goes to retire.
that's, yeah. What's that? Scottsdale? Yeah.
So
That's pretty nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice
yeah,
over there.
it's probably pretty nice and everything. We were looking at that one day, and we seen that house in Galveston. It was $54,000.
Oh yeah, Galveston. Yeah, exactly. There you
Galveston.
go. Perfect example. You would be happy with, right? You don't
You're
have to
2
live in,
miles from the shore, and
yeah, you don't have to live in Huntington Beach and pay $2,500 for rent
it was
when you can pay.
$54,000.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at what was by it. What was that town that was right by it, right outside of Galveston on the shore, and all the boats and the people.
McAllen, not McAllen. I don't know where it was.
Yeah, I was like, man, this is a deal.
Right. So you can see it that way because you trust your instincts. See a lot of people that don't trust their instincts, they would just go with society. That's not a good area. There's too much crime or whatever.
Why would I move to New York and pay $2,500 a month of rent? Why would I want to go to California?
Right.
It's better to go to Montana and build a little shelter.
You see it a lot with college students too. Like a lot of these college students that go to these decent universities, the first thing they'll do instinctively is just go move to a big city.
Yeah.
It's like, but they might not even like that idea, but everyone else is doing it, so I might as well go get my career going. I mean, at times it makes sense, but you're better off just trusting your instincts and figuring out what you want, and that's going to change over time as you learn more about yourself and the world.
There's a million little towns around the lake around here that it's not in Cleveland, and it's not there's no McMansions and everything, but it's pretty good living.
Right, exactly. I mean, I got my spots in Central New York, and like nobody see people look at like Central New York. They're like, oh, why would you want to live there? But they don't even know about the parks. They don't even know about the trails. They don't even know about the Italian food. They don't know about the stuff that I know. They don't know.
It's not, once in a while, I live in a little food desert. It bothers me once in a while that we only got one grocery store. And the only thing we got here is a Burger King and a Subway and a convenience store. And it's like, I make do with that. No Chinese. I learned how to cook Chinese.
Sure. You learn how to make your own food. I did today. I made chicken nuggets with some bacon. I wrapped some bacon around them, and I just threw my buddy's like, he busted my chops because I'm not as good a cook as him. But I'm like, you know what? I said, I really don't care if you don't like how I cook. You know what? I cook it. It tastes good to me. I said
chicken McNuggets with bacon wrapped around. That's delicious.
Yeah, I made some. Yeah, exactly. And I'm, threw some mozzarella on there, and it's hey, when you're hungry, man, I threw it in this is what I did. I put all the extras in the Tupperware. I got food for like 2-3 days now.
Cool.
It cost me like $10 worth of ingredients.
Yeah.
So that's how you save money too, by the way. Is just doing stuff like that. But but you're right. I think that's a part of trusting your instincts is figuring out what you want out of life. It's not gonna be what other people want. Who cares?
And that's what I say about the simps. They've never made their own bed. They never cooked for themselves. They need a woman to do these things. They never did their own laundry. They don't know what they like. They don't know what they want to smell when they put their clothes on. They just always trusted their mom, and they want to go from one mom to another mom. This is not a man, and they wonder why they call these guys not masculine. And these they may look masculine, but a guy that can't make his bed or cook for himself is just
or a codependent person. I mean, that's not a good thing to be. I like helping people out when I can, especially my friend. I do, help them out, but the codependency, that's a bad thing, man. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be codependent on a woman. It's like, there's simple things, and you learn in life what you like, and that's part of living. That's the whole part of living. That's when you get comfortable with this skin, and with who you are. And then when someone says you're not good enough, you go, I'm 10 times better than good enough. I got that ego now. I know exactly what I am. I'm better than hey, I walk into a room, I think I'm the best thing that walked through that door that week.
Right. And the world wants you to you're overconfident, or you believe in yourself. You should be more humble. Remember I used to talk about that humility? No, I think that's a bunch of bull. That's a bunch of BS. You know what I mean?
BS.
Yeah. Yeah, this humility thing. They took that word and they like it's just like, before I forget, like another, like it's progressive. Like they take that word, they took that word and they screwed that word up, right? Remember we
Yeah,
talked about like MGTOW are the most progressive,
yeah,
but anyway, back to the humility. I just want to bring that up again. That's another topic, but
yeah.
I
We're
like
super progressive in
yeah,
MGTOW.
we're the progressive ones, and but they hijack that word and make you
And
think the word progressive is a bad thing, right? Because you got,
yeah,
you know,
no, I'm proud to say, man, MGTOW is
right.
super progressive. We're on the cutting edge
We're on the
of
cutting edge, yeah, for
that,
sure. For
and
sure. Where
nobody.
else are you going to hear that? Where else are you going to hear that about fatherhood? It's not a real thing. Where else are you going to hear
Where else you can hear that? Yeah, it's like
that?
they want you to
Yeah.
buy into that. They want you to suffer. They want you to suffer a whole life and don't care about you.
Right,
These
right.
are
They want you to be humble so they can see the whole humility thing. The way they design it is they say be humble, but that's just for them to control you.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
humility and you know humility leads to being controlled. Humility leads to you
Right.
have to. There's okay. I might be humble in a certain situation if presented with something I don't know about or something that I can't figure out. But short of that, I'm not being humble in my character so somebody can get over on me. That's like trusting the devil.
Right. And it's like the same thing with forgiveness. Oh, you should forgive everyone that did you wrong, and yeah. Like that's just a bunch of that's you know what that's not setting healthy boundaries. No, people screw you over. It happens, yeah, but set healthy boundaries. Don't forgive them. I don't think
Yeah.
forgiveness is a good thing.
Right. What
I
is
really
it
don't.
that Marcus Aurelius said? If you're one of those people trusting bad people and not thinking they're going to do bad things, you're an idiot.
Right. They'll do it again. That's their MO. They'll do it again.
Yeah, bad
Our
people
government
do
does it all
bad
the time.
things.
What's that? Say it again. Sorry.
I said bad people do bad things. You
Yeah,
have to be
of
in touch
course.
with
And it's in the family, and a lot of times it's family.
that.
You know, unfortunately, I hate to say that, but
Yeah, a lot of times it's going to be family. That old you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your family. That thing, that's just
yeah,
garbage.
right. That
You can
is
get away from people that want to hurt you and take
right.
advantage of you.
The insults and all these little. Because I grew up in a family that was very obnoxious, and
Oh yeah,
it's just how they were. That's just how they
yeah
were.
we were we were
So
we were in my house. It's like we don't do the arguing. And I have to remind people about around here. We don't do that arguing. We don't do that. We discuss things like people. We come to logical decisions around here. But in the Catholic household, we never discussed anything. It was like it was authoritarian rule, and you'll trust what I say, and that
yeah,
didn't work out very good for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been listening to this chick on Odyssey. She's pretty good actually, but she kind of repeats herself a lot. But she's just talking about how like health, like it's all about health, and like a lot of us, we didn't grow up in healthy, like pretty much
Right.
all of us didn't grow up in healthy families. You know,
And talk through things, and
right? You
that
don't talk, right? It was just yelling. I mean, my house is a lot
was
of
just
yelling.
yelling, and
You know, if God forbid you slept past 8 o'clock in my house on a Saturday,
God, yeah,
you know, you get yelled at. It's like you got to get up and can't get your rest. You just gotta be doing something. You know, like so
yeah. And like you
yeah.
said, 8 hours of sleep. You get 8 hours of sleep. You know what your body does when you're sleeping?
Oh, regenerate. You
It's
got the world,
regenerate
Joe.
your
You got the world by
peptides.
the ball. You got the world by the balls.
Your peptides are healing all those little things, and it's getting in
Yep.
touch. And then there's
Yep.
that RNA that's programmed to go search for things that are wrong with you, cuts, scratches. You can turn on your immune system. It does a lot of really great things. Get the proper amount of sleep and try to
Yep.
do that.
Yep.
I mean, so many of us came out of marriages and we're so it's depressed and we don't know how to sleep anymore. We've been giving our whole lives and we've been running our lives on 4 hours of sleep or less, and we don't know how to do that. That's the first thing. You have like sit down on that lawn and sleep during the whole day and heal.
Yeah. 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 That's right. No, and yeah, it just goes back to trusting. Listen, well, that's the thing. This chick was saying too. Is like listening to your body. You always got
Yeah,
to listen to your body and
listen to your body. Yeah,
listen to your instincts.
I know it sounded
You
stupid
know.
the first time I heard that mind body soul thing where you listen to your body, and there was like women oriented stuff in that. But what I took from it as a man is, man, I spend a lot of time listening, trying to figure out where I'm hurting, why I'm hurting, trying to heal, sleep the right amount, drink the amount, hydrate enough, exercise enough, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure.
I mean, I got permanent problems now because I worked in a factory all my life, and no one cared. No one was going to give me any money. Matter of fact, they stole everything they could.
Yeah. 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 That's right. That's right. That's what they want you to do. They want you to work your fingers to the bone, and then when you retire or whatever, they want to they just figure out how to take it. That's why I'll tell you that 401k is a garbage.
Garbage.
I did more analysis. That's a garbage thing. You lost a couple of those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a garbage thing. You don't want people to hold your money. They're holding your money 20, 30, 40 years. That's like the biggest scam. It's such a scam. It's such a terrible scam.
Yeah, if I would have took the advice from that little redheaded cat at Mobile Oil when I was younger, he said, "Hey, Joe, there's this new thing called an IRA."
Oh, okay. Yeah, IRA. Yeah, that's IRA. Sure. Even a Roth IRA is a scam kind of too, though.
Yeah, he says, go down to your local.
Not as bad.
He says, start a banking account. Put all that money in a banking account, and
right.
And
Interest-bearing.
You can start investing.
Or even like stocks, just buying stocks, and then when you're younger, just buy stocks and just wait.
Right.
Find stocks, find their history. As long as they don't go bankrupt. As long as
And in that way, accountability on you. If you make mistakes, it's your fault. But
I mean, commodities are so easy. I mean, they're really easy. If you're patient and you have cash flow to pay your bills,
it's
just let the money sit there. The gold's going to go down. It's going to go up. You just wait. You might have to wait 5-10 years in some cases.
It's common sense when to buy and when to
right, like oil. Oil was so easy. I mean, if you look at some of the podcasts we did, I kept touting that. Remember, like a couple years ago. So yeah, just buy oil. It'll go back up. They're going to screw us again.
Yeah, they're going to.
And they did. Sure enough, they did. Yeah, they screwed us. They screwed us again with the oil. So yeah, I mean,
half my problem.
It goes back to instinct. And think about how instinctive that is. Like you're busting your ass, working your ass in a job. Maybe a lot of people don't like their jobs, and now you're giving your money to some fantasy fund manager in a 401k to hold for 30 years. Like that doesn't make that's no common sense in that.
There's no common sense in it. These people are thieves, and they're gonna
they're thieves. Exactly.
They're gonna eat the whole thing up in what they call penalties and or, services and penalties. Then you're gonna have nothing. That's what happened to me.
Right. You got to say.
I lost the last one during the housing crash. The first one I lost was the first housing crash. And
that's right. That's right.
And I don't even think I lost it. I think it was just stolen. And,
well, they manipulated markets, of course.
They manipulated, and why trust these people? No, if I would have did what I thought and just if I would have did what I thought to do and instinctively trusted myself, and that's part of, I didn't know how to trust myself when I was young. I didn't have no Joe or no Juliette Lewis telling me what to do.
Yeah. It's like Hollywood telling you Juliette Lewis is attractive when you look at her and she looks like a fucking dog,
Yeah. That's the same thing as your 401k plan. I'm gonna look at this beautiful girl. No, I don't think so, man. That's an ugly dog.
Yeah. It's like, it's insane. What's that noise, man?
But trust yourself, and that could be a process that us MGTOWs work on, and that's probably a process where we need to work on. We need to have more podcasts about how to trust yourself. If you're a young man, I know you don't know everything. I know you don't have a good feel for these things, and who do you trust, and who do you not trust, and how do you develop that instinctual?
I'll tell you one that provides the personal relationships. If you're around someone and they don't make you feel like good, they don't make you feel good. Get the hell. That's trusting your instinct. You get away from that type of person. They make you feel squirmy, or you don't like to be around them, or whatever. Stuff they say, that's automatic red flag. Get away from them. And then vice versa. And then vice versa too. Vice versa. If you're happy being around them and talking to them, then that's someone you want.
They're invested in your happiness, and that should be a clear-cut sign. We talk negatively a lot about people in this world, but on the other hand, I have good friends that are invested in my happiness, and I can see that. making, it's like that old photography course, when at the end he told me, just tell everybody in the story that you appreciate them, and you like what they do for you, and you're glad they're there, and make them feel good. That's the same thing about my friends, the ones that are invested in my happiness. That pays. I'm invested in their happiness, and now we're a team.
Well, I'd say that's how I approached my last job search. I said, I'm not going to really worry about the company so much. I'm looking at the person I'm going to be working under.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what are they like?
Is
you know what I mean? Is this person I can communicate with?
Right.
That I like being around.
Right.
And that's what I did. Unfortunately, the company's really good too, but it was more of who's my boss, who am I reporting to?
Right. It's rather than this guy holds all the cards and I just say yes.
Yeah, because I had some knucklehead. When my other job before this one, some knucklehead, he was like in his late 20s. He got promoted, and because he was just kissing ass, no talent jerk, and he starts coming around telling me what to do. I'm like, what? I got 20 years experience on you, buddy. Like, this is not going to work. I'm not working for this knucklehead. I did a MGTOW thing. I just freaking left,
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah. Sometimes just getting in that how to trust yourself, your instinctual feelings, just go get a book. That's how I did it. Go get a reputable book on the first books I read was one of the first ones that were meaningful to me in philosophy and everything were books on how to be a private detective. And there's a lot of good advice in there about human nature and who you should trust and who you shouldn't trust. And then I read Logic Made Easy was I think the second book and I always push that book. Logic. You think about things logically, and that's going to cut most of the crap out. Is this a logical decision that I'm making? And then okay, this was a logical decision. What went wrong? And then you can say, oh, it's human error.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't do that again. That's how you build that thing inside your set that this person's not trustworthy. This person's not trustworthy. And like most of the time, they're invested in your happiness. We'll tell you everything you need to know about a person.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And logic, just logic, like you say, something smells funny here. It doesn't sound logical. We're all pretty smart. We do, 1 million and some syllogisms in our head a day. And, even the stupidest person can catch a hold of when something doesn't sound logically correct.
Uh-huh.
And you just trust it.
Well, like my buddy, he had a friend of ours we went to high school with. He's like doing this thing where, if you invest $200, you can get $2,000 in 3 weeks. I told him, I said, man, I said, come on, are you that stupid? It's quick money, fast making money. It's obviously a Ponzi scheme of some sort. Yeah. It's like, forget that. I wouldn't even talk to that guy anymore for even asking you to do something like that.
Right. If it doesn't smell right,
right.
Logic just doesn't smell. These are illogical things. These absurd things that people tell. I had a friend just fall for that scam where you buy the gift certificate and send it back to him. Yeah. I couldn't believe he fell for it. I was like, "What are you, a fucking idiot?"
Yeah.
Like, some people are born without that logic, and for years I tried to get this guy to read that book, Logic Made Easy, and he wouldn't, and that should have been a telltale sign to me that this guy was never going to get it in life.
Well, I had an attorney who I tried to buy a property last year, about like, and I told him, I said, listen, this is the deal. I need you to get in there and close this deal for me. And he like delayed it. He played lawyer with the judge and the other lawyers. And then he didn't do his job. He essentially didn't do his job. I gave him the retainer. He ate up the retainer. Now I owe him like $1,000. He's not getting paid. You're not getting paid, buddy. You didn't do your job. You want to play lawyer? Then there's consequences. You want to do a job for me? I hired you to do this job. You didn't do it right. You're not getting paid. Right. Done. You're not. I'm not some kind of sucker. It's like, and that's another topic. Like trusting these authority figures.
Where they call
like these. Yeah, these quote unquote authority figures. You got to be careful. Like they want you to go against your instincts. Who cares if they're MD or whatever, MD, lawyer, whatever. All these professional types, they're still scamming.
Yeah, they're scamming.
And trust your instincts to say screw you to them too.
Yeah, you can tell me all day that I have to pay you, and I won't. if you
Right.
didn't do what you said
Right.
you were going to do.
Right. You didn't do your job. And so that's trusting your instincts and having confidence to say just because. But that's what they do in this society. They try to. Oh, I have a title. I'm a professor. I know more about this than anybody. I'm a professor of whatever. You know.
No.
So you know, you don't trust these authority figures. Again, they don't have your best interest in mind. You know.
No, there's a lot of scams, even with people that you're supposed to be reputable. There's a lot of scams. Not everybody's reputable. I was reading an article yesterday about SIDS, the sudden infant death syndrome, and they were talking about the butyl chlorides in it and everything. And I says, this has been known for 20 years now, and then they were talking about like it was a new discovery. And I was like, that's not a new discovery. The butyl chlorides are given off by your liver because you've been infected with toxins. Your liver does something because something happened. It was an antecedent thing. And they were like, oh, well, we've discovered something. No, you haven't. There's a lot of morons in medical sciences, and you know, there's the people that just really don't do logic very well or critical thinking. And they shouldn't be there, but it's easy to get a degree now. Becoming a doctor is just being so tenacious that you get your degree.
Right. It was
It doesn't mean you're
the
smart.
science is wrong too. They always say, "Oh, it's backed by science." Like I see some of these studies, like, "Oh, they studied these people over 10 years and blah blah blah," and they went to it's a Harvard study. Who cares if it's Harvard? Who cares? Who cares? Like the study design. I told my friend first. I said, "What's the study design?" I said, "Because you know, like you got to know what the study design is. You got, you know what I'm saying? You can't just take like a stupid because they can take statistics. They did it with the cholesterol stuff, statins,
Right.
you know, like this cholesterol. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into it, bore people, but they took like this data and they like manipulated it to show some type of correlation, but the correlation wasn't causation. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not.
I see that all the time with, they took a
Yeah.
study. There was a study today I was looking at with females in prison. All said that they did something because of they were doing it for a partner. And then I thought, you're taking a study inside of a prison.
Yeah. Exactly.
Doesn't it
Exactly.
tell you something? Don't never take a study. And so I see these prison studies all the time. Well, you know what? The people inside of prisons, there's kind of a bias there that generally leads to the negation of what they're saying.
Yeah. And they use this type of false data to just manipulate people and get you to
Yeah,
again not trust your instincts. Don't trust your instincts.
yeah. If you
That
took
guy Grande did it with marriage. Remember, he kept talking about, like, remember that guy Grande?
yeah,
Was it him? Was it Grande
oh
that
yeah.
talked
When
about?
I tried to explain this, like he took a study of, it's like taking a study of how many people like baseball inside of a baseball stadium. Well, of
Yeah,
course they're all gonna like baseball. You're inside of a fucking baseball stadium.
right. And then they come up with these, oh, you live longer if you're married, or blah blah blah, all these stupid
Yeah.
little things,
Of course, if you ask married people if they think they're doing the right thing, yes, they're going to tell you they think they're doing the right thing. It's the
right,
baseball stadium of marriage.
right. Yeah, no, it's insane, man. These authority figures, and just trust yourself, trust your natural instincts. Getting back to your you know, who you are, like inside, who you are, like your natural. You know, like, is it natural to we can go back to this, what we talked about in the beginning, like when is it natural to get on a knee and ask a woman area? I don't think that's natural. There's no way.
Yeah, Professor Grandi, by the way, I read his book and it has nothing to do with risk reduction.
Yeah,
What
he's
he
just a gambler. He's like a reckless gambler,
He's
isn't
like
he?
a reckless gambler, right?
Yeah,
And he was so wrong in so many parts too. And I
yeah,
suffered like a day
yeah.
and a half through that book, and I thought I was going to puke after I was done.
Oh, really? Why? What pissed you off the most about the book?
They just, I'm pretty much, my study was risk reduction, and I pretty much at that time got kicked out of the business because it was all abstinence at that time, and I just, he was equating made up stories about that he included females, and it became a storyline like Mary Mary or something like that. It was one of those storylines that really had nothing scientifically to do with anything. He didn't have no solid evidence for what he was saying, and it was just a big bias point basically it was a book that was written to it was a trap book just to trap your interest for a minute so you buy it, and then you get into the book and you realize that this has nothing to do with what he's saying. It's like someone makes a video and puts on some bizarre thing on the front just to get you to come to him, and it has nothing.
Well, that's why I like reading like Schopenhauer. I'm reading some of Schopenhauer because he's like a crusty old guy, and like I don't. He's not like it's not a commercial like that book. That book is not. It was published to make to share his wisdom with the world, and like the books, the newer books you have out today, it's all just to make money, right? They don't even they'll just write what you want to hear. They'll write what you want to hear. It's not based on anything.
Yeah, it's Kirk Cameron. That's what.
Yeah, exactly.
He Kirk Cameroned you.
Yeah. Growing pains. Yeah. Mike Seaver. He Mike Seavered you.
Yeah, it's like that was
yeah.
Yeah, he's just trying to get you to believe in what
those older books are better. You read guys like Camus and like Schopenhauer and those guys are gonna.
There's some trust.
Have better information.
There's a lot of trusted authors out there, but they got to be trusted authors, Sapolsky or Leary,
Right.
Read guys like that, or
Leary. Who? What's Leary's first name? Which one?
Leary's out of Harvard. He does neurobiology out of Harvard.
Okay.
Sapolsky does neurobiology out of Berkeley.
Okay.
They're very trustworthy when they talk about Leary does personality types and stuff like that. Sapolsky does neurosciences, why you are what you are and who you are. It's very interesting, and there's a lot of these guys out there that really give you the science behind. They'll break it down, give you the science, why the brain works like it does, and stuff like that, and why this is like that. And there's like three guys. I can't remember the other guy's name that I trust. And then there's a guy at Richmond University I trust. But it's the farthest thing from Dr. Grande there is.
Yeah. Well, you look at Dr. Grande. My first instinct when I saw him, he's like, I don't want to make fun of incels, but he's obviously an awkward guy. He probably didn't get a date till he was 30 years old. I mean, I'm not, I'm trying to make fun of the guy, but he's definitely a little awkward, socially awkward guy, looking guy and how he talks.
Yeah, he did the same thing they all do. They said, MGTOW, basically, you're right, but you're wrong.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
I'm having all kinds of feelings about you. I don't care about his feelings.
Right.
Scientifically, MGTOW's right.
Right. It's absolutely correct. And I mean, like we talk about so many different scenarios, but like for me, the first thing is like the stress. Like you just have less stress, man. You have all this.
The whole program's designed.
Yeah. I mean, I went 2 years, Joe, without income. It didn't even change my lifestyle. Yeah, I burned through a lot of my savings, but it really didn't change my lifestyle much. I didn't know because the whole COVID thing, I have my personal beliefs on that, and I didn't want to do the vaccination, so it really didn't. I like kind of waited it out, and like now it's done pretty much, and you know what I'm saying? It didn't, that's because of MGTOW. I didn't have the 4 mouths to feed and all this kind of stuff or whatever, right?
Right. Getting the COVID shot or whatever it is personal decisions. If you have a lot of people coming up, I have a lot of young men come through here, and young people and people that are irresponsible. So I got the COVID shot and I got COVID twice.
Yeah.
I'm adding MGTOW Cowboy to the stream.
Yes. Are we live, Cowboy?
Yes. I'm sorry. Is this the online Juliette Lewis fanboy club?
Yeah, I'd like
to join.
Letters to Juliette Lewis. And what's that other girl?
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Sarah Jessica Parker. She's so hot.
Oh man.
Yeah. How's it going, Cowboy? How you doing?
You gentlemen are saying fascinating. I had to call in for no. I think I remember exactly what video you were referring to. I think it was I'm sorry. You were referring to Dr. Todd Grande, the PhD counselor guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the video you're talking about, I think it was titled "Are Married People Better Off?"
Right.
And the reason why I remember that video is because I left a comment, and I think it's the most popular comment. It had over 1,000 likes. It had a whole bunch of comments, and I basically said that 70% of all divorces are filed by women, and it's even higher if the women are if they've gone to post-secondary education. And I just think it's irrefutable what basically MGTOW is right, but they just can't ever, they won't admit it.
Right. Yeah, he's doing. We were talking about the methodology of his research, and he's taking a survey on whether people like baseball in a baseball stadium.
Right,
And
right. No, it's
if you
going to
ask
be biased.
people
Sorry.
that are married if they like being married, they're going to tell you yes, they like being married.
Right, of course.
It's an irresponsible methodology that he's got from the beginning.
Sure. Another popular trope is what is it? Men who are married live longer. Or another popular meme. Another popular meme is married men. They tend to make more money. And I actually think that the second one is true, but I think the reason why is because they sort of have to, or they are pressured to.
Yeah, and then he includes in a spouse's income if she's working. And then, no, you didn't make that money. You don't make more money by including somebody else's money or putting that money together. But that would be the same if two guys lived in a house, two independent bachelors lived in a house. They both took care of the house bills. Would your bills be less? Of course they would. You can get the same results when having a buddy live with you. And you don't have to listen to him bitching the whole time.
Right. Sometimes I think about this, I ponder these ideas, and I think to myself, moving forward, moving into the future, should MGTOW or MGTOW-minded men, red pillars, should we seek to almost like similar to, but not the same as like gay men or homosexuals? Should we seek to just not really to partition ourselves away from women? What do you guys think about that?
Right. I think that I think cohabitation with another MGTOW-minded fellow is fine. It's not gay, and if people call it gay, it's like, what are you, stupid? He pays half the bills, I pay half the bills. He goes and does what he wants. I do what I want. But it just makes sense. Most of the time, I found a large group of men, and when I was younger, a large group of men would live in a house. We used to have boarding houses when I was younger. We don't have many boarding houses anymore, where there was 8, 9 guys in a garage. You know what always happened in those situations?
What's that?
A business occurred.
Right.
4 or 5 guys got together and started a business.
Right. That's sort of. I'm sorry. I'm just finishing eating this orange, a very tasty orange. Yeah. Do you remember? I can't remember. It was some sort of experiment. Was it Bears Grylls, I think. He was a Dutch producer of like a television show, and he took like 8 women and 8 men. He put them on 2 separate islands, but they were close enough in proximity where you could just barely see off in the distance the other island.
Yeah.
What he found is that the women immediately got to fighting. They could not establish any sort of hierarchy. Of course, they consumed up all the resources, and it got to the point where I think it was at some point half of them had to be removed because they were essentially poisoning themselves out of sheer stupidity. And now contrast that with the men. The men, like you said, when these men get together, they just end up being, in this particular case, they immediately established like a hierarchy. There did not have to be any violence. They claim that we impose these systems of hierarchy through violence. There was no violence. The men immediately became extremely productive. If one of them, turned into a fisherman, one of them started like carving out like furniture and chairs. One guy sets up a tent, but the point is, I don't know. Women are just, well, anyway.
Yeah. So it just, if men, it's because, the government ended boarding houses, and they made a whole shameful thing about men living together, because men do become very productive. When you get 2 guys in a garage, you put an old car in there, within weeks, that old car will look brand new.
Sure. Yeah, sure. No, I just had this idea that, I don't know, maybe what we were sold is a total lie. This idea that
Yeah, because they want
should
your
be men.
utility to work for them, not for within the group. If men's groups, and that's why they're so afraid of men's groups like MGTOW, the MRA, and
Sure.
men's groups start working for men's groups like we see around here, then it takes away from what they're getting, and they're terrified of that.
Absolutely. I've thought about that at length as well. What is that called? I think I've heard that called game theory. This
Yeah.
idea that it's a very much what's it called? All or nothing. It's a zero sum game.
Zero,
Um,
yeah,
the way I remember learning it was like, imagine there's a pizza pie on the table, and suddenly there's whatever 5 people in the room, but someone comes in the room and cuts the pie in half and jumps on a motorcycle and runs off or something. The other half of that pie cannot be consumed by the other 4 people, right? It's the more power that men have, the less power women can have, and vice versa.
right. Game theory and social dynamics is exactly what you said. They believe that power is a finite amount, and the only way to get power is to take it from men. That's zero sum theory. You have to win that game. You have to take it from a man, but they don't realize that power and it comes responsibility and accountability, and there's an infinite amount of it, and you can get your own if you want. They can never.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I see the same thing. For example, in wealth creation, like
Right.
I feel like I meet people who are closed-minded. I don't want to call them leftists, but let's say like hardcore feminists or whatever, cultural Marxists. And they have the same kind of idea. They think that like all wealth is essentially transferred, or for that matter, stolen. They have this idea that like if you have a man and he's doing well, he must have stolen that money. Maybe he was, or maybe his heritage comes from where they stole the money. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. When they don't want to acknowledge the fact that wealth can also be created, not just transferred.
Right, you have an infinite amount of wealth out there. Go get yours if you just feel like it. If you don't feel like it, you don't have to live that kind of lifestyle. You can live a minimalist lifestyle and live very good and be very happy. But don't buy into everything capitalism tells you, or there's a lot of ways to be happy in this world, and but money, there's an infinite amount. If I just wanted to do that for the rest of my life and figure out how, I don't have to steal it to get it. I can make it.
I remember this is slightly changing the subject, but still, in the same vein, really, MGTOW related. I remember looking at some of your. I essentially wanted you to talk about some of your older work. I remember watching a video of yours. You were talking about whatever in German. It's Otto Weiniger or Otto Weiniger. Remember that video you made of him? If I remember, again, I haven't like in depth read his work or anything, but I remember to summarize, to summate what you were saying. You were saying that Otto Weiniger basically says that if you think about it, in many ways, women are the root of most of the social ills that befall humanity. And then you just talked about how he breaks it down, like resource extraction, for example. You were talking about how Otto was saying, what is it? If one tribe is not having enough resources, and really they do, they have enough food, they have enough water, they have shelter, but essentially the women are constantly urging the men, berating the men, pressuring the men to get more and more and more. The men feel compelled to get more, and if they can't get more, they look across the valley, across the river to the next tribe and go and rob them.
Yeah, most of the ills of this world, even slavery, comes from the female need. I often say that slavery in itself during the 1860s.
Yes.
There's no problem. I just showed Joey my garden today. I went out and I plowed and I shoveled all that dirt. At 60 years old, I went out and did that.
Sure.
And made the garden. There's no problem with a male plowing his own. But what happens is the female lives in the house and she has more demands. And then the male needs she needs a house slave. She needs people to be around the dresser. She needs more resources. And all of a sudden that amount of resources becomes more than the male can handle. So at that time you had to find slaves, and that's still the way it works today. 30% of the society is simply a slave to manufacturing, or if in that, if you become one of those, it's all based on female need. And
Sure, I agree. I agree. We should actually come back to Otto Weiniger in just a second
Yeah.
and what we're talking about. But now you sort of went off on a tangent, and now I want to go with you. Can you talk about that for a second? Your gardening. I'm actually a state of Illinois master gardener. I love gardening.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of stuff do you grow?
Yeah, we started our plants earlier. I got beans. My beans are coming up in the front, and I utilize. I have a small lot, and so I utilize all the areas around the house, in front of
Sure.
the house. Instead of putting big bushes in front of my house, I put beans and
Right. Oh, of course.
collard greens
Okay.
look fine.
Okay, so you don't put it in like the gangway between the two properties or anything like that? Is it like a
I
high?
put,
Is it a high? I'm sorry.
on one side of my house, I grow about 6, 7, 8, tomato plants, and then that takes care of
Sure.
that little place where the drainage runs off and everything. You can use those fine. I have above ground planting, which
I was
use
going to say, do you do like raised beds, or do you just put it right in the ground? Or
Yeah,
okay,
you could do raised beds. Raised beds are easy. I bought they're kind of big, huge things I just filled with dirt.
yeah,
And you can get them at your local. And I got 3 of those in back of the house, and I utilize that space in the shade for shady plants. And then I have the big garden out back, and I still have plenty of room. If I utilized my whole yard, and it's just like a quarter acre,
Yeah.
if I utilized I would have food for like a year at least.
yeah. I mean, literally. Yeah, no, I mean, of course it's fun. Of course it's fun. I could talk about
And
gardening
it's
for
healthy and
hours,
fun for you.
but even just talking about fiscal, or how can I put it? I was talking all about it. I just bought an apple last week. I think it cost me almost $3. I bought one apple at the store.
One apple nowadays, yeah.
And there was a long line, and I sort of stopped the line. I said, "Hey, wait, are you sure that price is right?" And he was
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah." And everyone in line kind of took notice. And I said, "I'm almost 40 years old. I remember when I was your age," and he was some punk teenage kid. God
Yeah.
bless him. I was like, when I was your age, an apple was 50 cents.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know what this? I think back on when Cuba got isolated.
Sure.
You can think about how they did it, and who is it? That guy that goes down there and he explains how they do their medical, and then he looks in the yards and he automatically notices that Cubans in Cuba utilize their entire yards for gardens instead of growing lawns.
Sure. Right. Well, again, it really depends on what the government allows. Obviously,
Right.
Cuba
There's
is
a
a communist
reason
country.
why they want you to go to the grocery store. Now in Canada, a lot of you're not allowed to put gardens in certain areas because they want you to utilize
Right.
the commerce in the area.
Right. So what I was going to say to that is, even though Cuba is a communist country, they're obviously following a slightly different model. In places like China has very, very strict laws concerning that. You cannot just grow a garden in your front yard. The communists in China don't want the average person growing their own food.
Oh, that would be freedom.
Right.
Within the communists, they want to
Right.
control.
But even within our society, you hit the nail on the head. Our government, they would prefer if everyone have to. Our government would put on is they want everyone to have to go to a corporation and depend on having to buy whatever they need from a corporation instead of being self-sufficient and or using barter or things like this.
Right. Yeah. Now that's something that MGTOW in the beginning talked about a lot, about using the barter system between us and getting that together. But they had a fit about that. But in a way, you can make your own alcohol if you want, and you can grow your own vegetables and have spaghetti sauce for a whole year on just a regular MGTOW. I find that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plants. You have enough where you can package up and freeze those in little Ziploc bags.
Oh, absolutely.
All year.
Oh, absolutely. I remember learning a fun fact when I was, they were making us as part of the extension program. It's an extension program through UIC, University of Illinois, Chicago. They made us a volunteer. One of the places you can volunteer was at the Chicago Botanical Gardens. It's just outside the city. I remember learning did you know that American gardeners grow more tomatoes than the commercial tomato industry here in the United States?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I live in Ohio where it's like 80% of the commercial tomatoes that go into spaghetti sauce, the
Yeah.
hunts and those things are grown in Ohio, and they're all owned by corporate farms. And it
Sure.
used to be in America that if you have, and I figured this out one day, if you have a 4-acre lot of tomatoes,
Yes.
and you sold those, you can employ one person and have a pretty good living.
Yeah, I mean,
And they wonder
there's
why.
people who study. There's people we have it down to a science. I mean, for the commercial growers, specifically about tomatoes, I think the leading thing is aren't they into like vertical farming now of tomatoes? Isn't that very popular?
We've discussed vertical farming at one time. It's highly mechanicalized, so you'd have to have like some kind of industrial backing on that. Now we could take desert land and turn
Sure.
it into vertical farming really easily, and that would
Sure.
increase the fold of an acre of land would be, well, how many vertical platforms are you putting up?
Yeah, yeah. Well, regardless, the point is, I think red pill and MGTOW minded men, I think we're very enthused about that sort of lifestyle where we can,
Yeah,
essentially, we're into self-sufficiency.
self-sufficiency and independence and self-sufficiency go together so nicely. And if you,
Right.
you start just learning little things around your house, like how to brew your own alcohol if you drink,
Absolutely.
and not pay that price for more than 2/3 of that goes for taxes for that
Right.
irresponsible
For-
racketeers are spending.
Yeah, I
on
was gonna say for I don't know if I could curse on this live stream, but yeah, for screw off, for screw all, all these
Yeah,
taxes. Think of like
government agencies with lighter than air jobs, let's say.
right. As you often say, these lighter than air jobs, right? That's why
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw. I'm sure in your area the price is climbing. So it's pretty official now. The cost of a gallon of gas here in Chicago is it is now officially over $5.
officially, yeah. Yeah, now I ride an e-bike and I haven't drove a car in 7 years. And then
Yeah.
I started figuring out how much gas I saved. And the average gas that you buy a year used to be it was 2,000
$500.
Yeah, 2,500 about each year. Now it's like that's $5,000 plus I don't have to pay a car payment. That's $250 a month. Plus I don't have to pay repair bills,
License.
gas, and everything. You know how much I've saved in the last 7 years not driving and
Right.
using electric? I charge my bike for it costs 5.4 cents to charge my bike every time I charge it. And that's every 3 trips. And the only thing, and people, oh, well, how do you do that in the winter? Well, you dress right and go out in the snow and have some fun on your e-bike.
Sure. I think of course, right. Yeah. Definitely layer. I think part of it though is
Later.
you also acclimate. I always remember for the first 2 or 3 weeks of when during the onset of what you can call like late autumn or early winter, it's so cold. I feel it in my bones. But then a month later, I just become acclimated. I just get used to it.
Yeah, the great part about people will go, okay, well, your ecological footprint is not very big, Joe, and that's not the best part about it for me. The best part about it for me that the government did get 1/3 of the gas price for taxes. That's why.
No, they screw us over. They screw us over so bad. These corporations. Talking about that, what is that? That carbon footprint.
Yeah, carbon footprint. That's okay
whatever.
to talk about, and it's sort of whimsical and everything. I do save a lot in my carbon footprint and everything, but that's not why I do it.
I just when people talk about that, I say always be reminded. What was it? What's his name? Al Gore in that famous movie. What is it? An Inconvenient Truth or
Inconvenient Truth. Read the book too. It was a decent read, depending on how you were looking at it.
No. There's so many retractions that he had. What did he claim by 2013 the North Pole would melt and never come back? I mean, you can look at satellite images now. That's just not true.
Yeah, we got both sides like biasing their observation of what's going on. Now, I do believe we can reverse any changes that we have, but we have to consciously do reverse it. And
Oh, sure. Like, for example, the overfishing of the seas.
right.
Yeah, I definitely think it's possible that people can
We can
overfish the
terraform
ocean.
seas now. We have the technology. Men have the technology to restock. We do it every year here in Lake Erie, where I live.
Oh,
We
really?
restock what we take out.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, restocking the fish. Oh, yeah, right. I've seen cool. Nowadays, in some instances, they will restock using airplanes. That they drop the fish from planes.
Yeah. We have these, especially around here. Anywhere you drive around here, up and down the shores of Lake Erie, you're going to see these little lakes everywhere. They look like lakes. They're swamps and ponds. They grow. And they have these little beaches that hold them back. I can't remember. It's like a ford.
Sure.
And then every year when the water goes up, that ford releases, and it releases thousands and thousands of millions, probably, of that kind of fish, whatever they put in there.
Right. So essentially, we're restocking every year. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how we would go about sort of policing that on an international level. I've thought about this. I'm sorry.
Interest of mine. At one point, some of the countries were seriously overfishing the salmon up above.
Sure. The Japanese, the Chinese.
Yeah, and we need to do something about that. And what was really evident about that, the rivers in America were all restocking it, but nobody else was. Even Canada wasn't at that time.
Yeah, I was just recently researching that. I think it was in 1970. What was it? In the late 1960s, the Ohio River kept catching fire.
Yeah.
Internalize that for a second. How dirty a river must be for the actual river to catch fire. And then in the early 70s, I think it was in 1970. What was it? The Clean Water Act was passed, and we've sort of been trying to address that issue.
Now, I will tell you, because I live in Ohio, there's a natural occurrence of rivers starting on fire.
Oh, I thought it was because of so much dumping that there would literally be like oil slicks. Obviously, on top, the oil slick typically rides the top of the river,
Right.
and then
it is oily,
sparks. Yeah,
but it's alcohol from the trees and the foliage. And you can go down to if you ever if you go down the Great Lakes Brewery, they'll have the whole explanation of why the Cuyahoga River starts on fire. And
so essentially what you're saying is all of this foliage falls in and ferments, and then it catches on fire.
Right. There's wild yeast around here is big, and it after the trees and the stuff, there's a lot of trees, so they break down, and that goes down into the stream, and with the nitric acid comes on, it creates an oily substance on top of the water that, if hit by lightning, can set the river on fire, and will. And there's been, if you look back, they'll give you the history of this, and it goes back to the 1700s. They first noticed it.
Wow. Okay. Well, you learn something new every day. I never considered that. What I was reading was claiming like essentially dumping from mostly like slag from like Alcoa.
Now there was occurrences with the Genesee Brewing Company and the Cotton Club Company making all that pop, where they're dumping the old sugar into the streams. And it was fermenting into alcohol, and that's what was starting that fire.
Okay, yeah. And what I was reading was like trains, or the sparks from trains would fall onto the river, and all of a sudden you'd see this flash fire on top of a river.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, that's okay. That's totally okay. Anyway, yeah. You guys are talking about some real good stuff. That professor. I'm sorry, that Dr. Todd Grande. I've listened to some of his stuff. I of course, he's a doctor. I can't take that away from him. Or he has a PhD.
No, he's not a doctor. He has
his PhD, I think, in counseling. But
he's a counselor like me.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is I do have a certain reverence for university. I do have a certain respect for that. That is an achievement, let's say. But yeah, I'm sorry. I just think he's wrong. I think there's so much. I don't know. Is it a mixture? I think it's a mixture of like brainwashing. What's that?
He biases he came into this MGTOW thing with with a biased opinion. He had a conservative bias, so he's not going to change his mind. But
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say how this gentleman is similar to another huge YouTuber. I consider him almost like a mega church evangelical preacher. Do you know who Jesse? Do you know who Jesse Lee Peterson is?
Peterson, yeah.
Yeah, Jesse Lee Peterson. I went on his show some months back, and I tried to make the case that MGTOW is it's the right way to go. It's it's the way, it's the truth, it's the light, and I really thought that I would be well received, but not at all.
No.
He proceeded to call me a coward for half an hour.
We can go back to the at the beginning. We talked about the shaming. They'll immediately try to shame you back onto
that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. Shame and blame. It was shame and blame for half an hour straight. Of course, I was on
their own social constructs that are pretty much not real.
Well, I'm not going to go on his stream and start pushing, agnosticism, and I do have a lot of respect for him, but, the point is I was
religious too, isn't he?
Right. Oh yeah, no, right. He's an evangelical Christian.
Yeah. So you got to understand that he believes in a all powerful entity in the sky, and he's got really weird concepts about how in Christianity basically is just a movement to take over lands from uncontacted people. It's like,
well, I definitely agree that it's an organized religion, and it definitely works hand in hand with the state, or as I say, cross and crown.
Right,
cross and crown.
Yeah, they want to keep masses, under. They don't want us all thinking independently for ourselves because we'll start growing gardens.
Right. There you go. Right. And so, so the point is, he's a Christian, and so he has his message. He's not going to support MGTOW, but I thought at the very least he would admit to some of our major grievances being, being right. Especially, considering he is essentially a MGTOW. He is in his early 70s. He's never gotten married, and he doesn't have any children. No kids, no cohabitation. What's going on? How could he disagree with us? Also it's worth mentioning. I love mentioning the Christians. Did you know that Jesus never got married? Do you know that Jesus never had children, never lived with a woman and married? You could make the argument Jesus was an
incidental overflow into. We get a lot of groups that incidentally overflow into the MGTOW like ideas, but they're not really MGTOWs, and they're not really the same idea when you think about it. He chose to be a pastor, so of course he's not married.
Well, there you go. So so the point is with Jesse Lee Peterson. I mean, if you think about it, his business model, if you will, is he's in the business of families. Church.
Right.
Church.
He's where he makes his money. Those weddings he does on.
There you go.
The weekend he sells his services.
There you go.
And that's right. Provides money for the church or his church.
Right. And the whole time he was just saying things like, what is it? He kept calling me, what is it, a failure? Or no, what is it? Defeated. What is it like to be defeated?
Yeah, who hurt you, bro?
Yeah. That's it. That's all he really had. Like, I tried my best, but I just think there's a lot of vested interests that don't want to see independent-minded men spreading the message.
Right. It's really funny because we don't compete with those guys. There's no competition on any level with a MGTOW and Christianity and stuff. I believe that they have the right to believe any stupid thing they want. But I also believe that you don't have the right to lie to other people. If
I was just about to say, I remember listening to your compadre Joey Avalon, or not Avalon, Aragon. He says, by just by living a MGTOW lifestyle, you sort of, how does he put it? It invalidates the way other people live their lives, because as time goes by, you will have a higher standard of living, but you'll have a lower stress level. How is that? That doesn't compute with these married men who have 2 kids and they're having to work all these hours, but the money just gets sucked away. That they were told 20 years ago, they were told this would make them happy. Now they're stuck. Now they're resentful, and now you're an asshole because you're a MGTOW.
Yeah, Dr. Grande does a great. He does this whole. As a married person, you get stress reduction through sex, and I'm thinking about how stupid that is.
Yeah.
The only reason you need stress reduction is because you're married.
Right.
So
right.
The same thing that's giving you stress is the same thing you're relying. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
it's like alcoholism. It's the cause and the cure of all your problems.
It's the cause and the cure. Yeah, drink and you'll be happy, and you wake up the next morning miserable because you drank.
There you go. Right. It's the same argument. It's the same argument when these pro-marriage types, they say things like, well, it's scientifically, it's proven that married men, they tend to make 30% more, per year per person. But then when you think about it, it's like, whatever. If you're making an extra 30%, where do you think that money's going anyway?
Oh yeah, back in the 90s, I was making $72,000 a year, probably more than a lot of people were making. But I was working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Sure. Right. You're basically trading your entire life over for a paycheck.
Right. Yeah. And you know what I got to hear when I got home? You're always
yelling.
You're always at work. You don't care about us.
Yeah, no, yelling.
I cared enough to go to work for 12 hours a day for 6 days out of the week, so we'd have enough money to live successfully.
Right, constantly embattled, just living with this combative, contentious woman who just can never be pleased. Right? It's oof.
Yeah. It was like you think you'd be really happy if I just give you a boyfriend too and went to work, and that's what the society demanded out of me. In the end, I had to pay child support, and she got to have a boyfriend.
Right.
So, wow, that was great for me.
Yeah, right. I remember listening to some of your work. You were talking about it even today with Mr. Aragon, and you were talking about this idea, the social construct that we call a father, and how when I first heard that, I thought that was so far out. That's so opposite of
it's hard to take when you first hear it, isn't it? It's one of those
right, exactly. It's hard. It's like, wow,
an unfriendly truth.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I'm still struggling with it, but I if you want to call it, if you want to consider it like a beachhead, I definitely have had thoughts similar to that when I think of why is it, for example, why is it that you have to pay not a certain amount, but a percentage of what you make as a man for child support?
Yeah.
Is this child eating, is the child eating steaks all day? If it takes, let's say, this is just an arbitrary number. I don't know, 10 grand, let's say $10,000. Let's be generous. Let's say $12,000 a year, bare minimum, to sustain one child. Why, if you have a man who's making, a ton of money, he's making, I don't know, whatever, 6 figures or something like that. Why don't they just peg it at that number? Why do they make it a percentage? And I believe that the reason is because through doing this, they're admitting that it's about the money. It's not about the best interest of the child.
Yeah, because the government gets a percentage of that too.
And the government gets a percentage, right?
Yeah, and then they can put you in arrears always over it, because as soon as they put you in arrears, that the federal government gives them that money, and then they double the money by getting it back from you. And then they double that service industry, that lighter than air service industry that they have.
No, I don't know all the detail. I've heard
racketeering at its finest.
I've heard that some of this money actually goes towards the retirement funds of the judges as well.
Yeah,
and some of
there's payoffs, and there's a lady out of Michigan that does a great video on. She used to work in Health and Human Services, so she knows all the ins and outs, and she told on them.
Yeah.
And but when you think about society in general, and I always try to go back to, why do we pay taxes?
Well, I mean, theoretically, it's for these wonderful services that are
to take care of the women and the children.
Benevolent overlords. I mean the government.
Yeah, we pay taxes to take care of the women and the children, so nobody goes hungry. And it's altruism at its finest. We impose these taxes through commerce because the government provides us with a certain amount of commerce, and they're right. They do provide us with the commerce so we can make money, so we can pay taxes, so we can take care of the women and children and put them in those buildings. Think about child support. They're double taxing you. That's taxation without representation. Then they're triple taxing you. The system has grown bigger than the altruism or the recipient of the altruism.
Sure.
The system is what's costing you now.
It's scary how the servant can become the master. Our government is supposed to serve us, but now increasingly they just seek to grow and grow and grow.
It's growing, and they look at it like every time I hear when I hear a presidential candidate speaking about how do we get revenue, I'm thinking they think of it as revenue.
Taxes.
Yeah.
It's theft. It's just wealth transfer via the facilitated by the government. All of it backed by, a sheriff's deputy with a gun. All backed by maybe not violence, but the threat of violence.
And violence.
The definition of coercion.
Yeah. And they do this for the lighter than their jobs that they all afford. They do that so they don't have to do the physical labor that the slave, the 30% of us, has to do.
Right.
And
that really is what it is.
Than we had before, say, the Civil War. No, we don't. We have the same society as we had. It's just now that they're so good at hiding their intentions.
That reminds me, there's a gentleman I listen to. His name is Donovan Warland. I recommend anyone check him out. He was talking about this subject, and he was talking about how he considers it like he was talking about a syndicate, syndicalism.
It's racketeering. Yeah.
Well, that's what they engage in, right? But he talks about how, and there's a hierarchy, he claims, within the government. So it's like he talks about all these these alphabet agencies, and how they'll even unionize. They're
right.
So it's the definition of a syndicate is a unionized labor. But he talks about how all they really do is they're looking out for their own interests, and they all work
right.
And they all work in lockstep. And there's a clear hierarchy. He says, I don't know if he's 100% right, but I think he's got the general idea pretty down. He says, like, let's say starting at the bottom, it would be like the fire department. Right above them would be the police department. Above them would be real powerful syndicates like the children, those women, the teachers, the teachers unions.
Yeah.
And then above that would be, now you start entering like the federal level. Like, so now the USPS, the mailmen, they're a federal union. And then whatever, after that, whatever order you want to give it, the FBI, the ATF, DEA, all these alphabet agencies. And they all work to do the same thing. They all constantly work to keep themselves in power. They work a third less than we do on average, but they get paid a third more on average than the average worker. And they just seek to perpetuate this system. So he says.
Perpetuate grants are giving, the government gives grants to the government certified people to do these jobs that aren't real jobs that never get done. And then the money just kind of flows to it. And,
all of it. They cover
lighter than air jobs that they're making up, the city managers and the county managers and everything. Them are all bullshit jobs.
They come at you. It's full spectrum. From every angle. They'll impose what's it called? COLA, cost of living adjustments, that they even give themselves raises. Right. They even write it into their pension plans that they give themselves raises as
they
time
got huge pensions, and that we will never see, that will generally affect your pension as a working person. They're always figuring out how to rob the working people's pensions.
Sure.
They do it. What is really great? Oh, Ted Newsom, what his name in Texas? He started that program this last year. The Czech human trafficking, and
Abbott.
Between Mexico and America.
Is that Governor Abbott?
Yeah. So he went out and he started this program, and they were checking these for human trafficking. They found 2 cases of human trafficking, and they paid 4 times more than any other agency did. So they're giving themselves huge, lavish bonuses, and that's the way government works. Camus said this, and the Rebel. He says, the tyrants will always come with what they can do for you, how they can help you.
That's how they come at you. They say, contract.
Without
contract
the government, you're all gonna starve. And they could make us starve if they wanted to, if they ever wanted to. And I think that's what this new this inflation is about now. They're making us starve to realize how much we need them, but we don't need them. We need to start doing things like we were talking about. Grow your garden.
Right. And so as of late, let's say, when I was 18, I wouldn't really entertain the ideas that you're putting forth right now. But as I've gotten older, I've sort of come to see that as well. It almost seems like government is more of a parasite than anything else.
Right.
So
it's a parasite. Yeah. We can go down back to sociology and Durkheim sociology. I often explain this. It's a social fact. And you can watch the movie A Social Fact and get, or what's it called? I'll remember in a second. But they talk about Durkheim's social fact, and it's when you got altruism, and you got the government, and then you got the needy. And the money never goes straight from the altruistic people that are paying the taxes. That's what taxes are, altruism, to the needy. It goes up to the government, and then they chop off what they want, and it grows too big, and then it trickles down to the poor.
No, there's so much of this. It's a study within it.
We can get rid of 1/3 of your taxes, or 2/3 of your taxes right now.
Oh, right. I remember you saying this. If we just properly utilize the post office and
properly utilize the post office and the libraries, and we move Health and Human Service into a digital program where you just put in your name, your social security number. Your social security number is your identification, maybe another piece of identification like a mailing address or something, and you put in how much you make, and it should come back how much you should make. And then the government makes up for the computer program makes up for the rest and sends you a check.
Right. Well, on the back of your social security card, either it still does, or I know it used to say not for identification purposes, but yes, it is de facto now basically used as one of the major ways that, to identify you.
Somebody's a citizen.
Yeah.
Because they have a social security card. That's a logic. But if we did it that way, you think about the marriage industry, the divorce industry, the health and human service industry would all just go away. We wouldn't have to pay them.
Sure.
That's over 20 million jobs in America, high paying $120,000 jobs that we do away with right away. But these people are going to have to go find jobs in the private industry now.
Oh no. People are going to have to get real jobs.
They're going to have to work.
I remember years ago, 6 years ago now, I was a very late bloomer. I graduated in my late 20s, and I finally fell into my vocation, into trucking in my early 30s. I remember being told over and over in trucking school, or it was a community college, but whatever, they had a program, and they were telling me, you're gonna have to embrace the idea of working 60 to 70 hours a week. This is, almost non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And at the time, I remember thinking like, oh no, I'll have to. Maybe I should just get a job down at City Hall here in Chicago, and
go to the mall and work at the.
Or maybe I have a degree. I got a degree. I can go get a job. Get my praxis certification. Become a teacher. You get 2 months off every summer paid. I don't know.
Right. I remember when I was struggling once. I was gonna changing vocation and everything. I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about phlebotomy for some reason. I just wanted to be a phlebotomist, and how easily I could have just did that if I wanted to.
Sure. I don't know. I'm scared of blood. I couldn't do that, but okay.
I was thinking, man, I could just start a clinic in my back room here, and
there you go.
Get the right info, and then people just send me it, and then I test it, and then here's your $120 bill, and there I go. I'm perfect.
There you go. Yeah, no. As I've gone along, or as I've matured, I've come to see what you see. There's so much a red tape. There's so much nonsensical, light, as you call them, lighter than air jobs.
Yeah.
I remember what's his name, Joey Aragon. He was talking, Aragon. He was talking about the concept of paying taxes on land that you already own, and he doesn't.
That you already owned.
Understand.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand why they even put up with that. Why they even stand for that.
We put up with that, paying these county people taxes so they can have jobs. It's one of the biggest racketeering schemes out there is county government. It's like,
well, the worst part, in my opinion, is like it de-incentivizes certain types of progress.
Right.
For example, I remember looking into essentially buying my own home. You can call it, in a way, I'll call this like alternative living. For example, there's many examples, but I'll just give you one. Do you know what what's that wooden a pallet? You know what a wooden pallet is, right? Yeah, I've seen. You can go online. It's real simple. They have these. You can buy whatever. You can do the math. You got to do a little bit of math. Buy whatever, 40, 50 pallets. You can build your own house. You can literally build your own house for $5,000, $6,000. But you got these people buying these houses in the suburbs, in the low 340s, and I think that's a good deal. And then you get this mortgage for 30 years. Why do that? You can, you and Joey talk about it all the time. What is a house?
Yeah, you can do a lot of things other than living in. I call these areas that I live in. There's a little area in our town where all the houses are grouped in. These are nests.
Sure, you've said that. You've said that many times before. What is a house? And you liken it to a nest for a woman, and you say how men don't. Again, if a man chooses not to live with a woman or going MGTOW, there's no need for that. Your boy Joey says the same thing. Why buy a big 3-4 bedroom house when you can buy a 1 bedroom or a small condo,
a smaller house, and move to a different area? Or it depends how you transition these things. People don't. Some men don't transition as good as other men, and you can do a lot of things. But it's just the whole idea of housing. Now you have between paying a banker like 3 times the amount of a house,
that's the point.
Going on the English rental system. That's why we broke away from the king.
Yeah, that's one of the points I wanted to make. This whole housing industry. When you talk about it, what is a house? It's just a this structure that's relatively strong that can stand up to the elements and it won't leak. But for example, if you let for example, one of the things I was learning, I was investigating. This is why the government hates like single wides and double wides. These what are they called? Trailers.
Yeah.
You can't tax them at the highest rate because they don't have something called a what's that cement floor? What's it called? Laying a foundation.
You can always move it too if you don't like where you live and you put the wheels back on and you move it.
Yes, exactly. But if you lay a foundation, so essentially if you pour a squared block of cement, a platform, the county assessor can come and like triple your taxes.
Yeah.
It's like, why? But I'm adding value. Why are you? They disincentivize you. It literally is. It disincentivizes progress.
That is that you as a young man, you build your house, you buy the property, you put in the sewage, you put in the electricity, you do all that work.
Yeah.
Every dime of that and every piece of labor was yours. And this is where we get into the proletariat argument. It's like everything I did, and then some guy comes and tells you have to pay him $1,000, $2,500 a year to live there. Because
the whole concept. I was born on this earth. Why do I have to pay for being here?
I have to pay him because he has a job with doing a service that is a non-existent service.
That's the reason why it's a service is because he made the service. He made it up.
Service. Yeah, that's the definition of racketeering.
And but it all comes back to violence because if you don't fall into their system,
they will violently remove you from the thing that you built.
Men with guns will show up
will show up.
and they'll do things to you.
Yeah. Now that's another that goes way out by me. MGTOW has to develop the ray gun. And that way they could not force us anymore. The
Yeah, no, I had the same thing again. Following the same vein, I have this idea that MGTOW men are men minded in this way, where they essentially think, we are the guys that have this idea. Why are we paying all this money to the government? Why can't I just be self sufficient? Why can't I make my own beer?
Why can't I be self sufficient? Why do they deserve some to tax me to take money from me for? So they can have a job, so they can work in an air conditioned office.
They get to have as high a quality of life as me.
They have a higher quality,
or better, right? Yeah. Or higher. Again, their quality of life. Let's say it's just an arbitrary numbers. They're getting paid a third more, but they're doing a third less work. This is totally unbalanced. But if you don't, they're going to hurt you. They're
going to hurt you. Yeah, they're going to try to hurt you. Yeah.
So that's part of what I think MGTOW is. It's this group of men that see this, and whatever the women don't like it, the government doesn't like it, the corporations don't like it.
Yeah. I think it's so important that every MGTOW reads.
I guess I'll leave it at that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take up too much of your time, but it's very good to speak with you.
Yeah. Every MGTOW should read The Rebel by Albert Camus and realize that we have to be rebels. That being a MGTOW is being a rebel. It's being that idealistic rebel where unless we do this, and we can explain it perfectly, our ideas are honest and true. And unless we be the rebel, then they're going to keep doing what they do to men and people, and they're going to grow in size. And just like the Roman Empire, sooner or later they will eat themselves. But we can't wait around for them to eat themselves. Still with me? Okay. And so, yeah, MGTOW makes so much sense. And it's not just about women. It's not just about the marriage industry. It's not just about them things. It's more about it's more about all people's happiness, and we're really altruistic. We're thinking about everybody in society. We want everybody to be happy in society, but we don't want to have that burden laid on our back anymore. It's all men's problem, and everybody can share in this thing. The government can share and start downsizing and start moving into public life and start doing their share of the work. The biggest crime in America, as Rawls would argue with Novak, and Novak said the biggest crime in America is when you eat something that you didn't make and you didn't help make. That's what the government is. They eat, they live, they have their pools in their houses and their sports cars, and they didn't do nothing to deserve that. And it's all on your back, and it all comes from a screwed up religious system of divorce and marriage and male roles that is unreasonable. That's what we have to start thinking about. And I want to thank everybody for coming around. Let me go back here and say thanks for Brissy Boy. Thanks for anybody that's watching or will watch this. And I'm probably going to cut it off now. Joey has left, and MGTOW Cowboy. Thanks, MGTOW Cowboy, for coming on, and thanks, Joey, for coming on. And if anybody else, Brissy, I'd like to see you in someday. AP, John, just guys drop in and say hello. I know I'm not around a lot, but I'm trying hard. It's farming season, and we got to get that done. And thanks a lot for coming around. And most of all, man, this one. Thanks a lot for being MGTOWs. You have a great day. Have a great weekend.